to the tomatoes. How did we get on? The tomato seeds have all popped up. Some of them are doing better than others. The sun green, I can only see one coming up so far, but many of the others have done really well. And on the tray where I put them in individually, it's a bit of a mixed bag here. Most of them have done really well, but these two rows here and here, so these two tomatoes, which is Cherokee Purple and Black Truffelli, none of those seeds have come up, but I'm not worrying, because the thing about seeds is varieties can germinate at different times. The age of the seeds will affect germination, whether that you're using a packet of seeds that have been open or not. So there's many factors that will affect the germination of your seeds. So I'm not going to worry, but the fact that I've started them early means I can resow any tomatoes that don't or haven't come up. And you can see these Paul Robesons are just coming up, just showing their little faces. And the Abraham Lincoln, again, is sporadic, so I've got some coming up. You can see there's one there that's beginning to germinate. So overall, they've done really well. Cucumbers have popped up that I put in, that I'm going to grow indoors. And the seeds that I grow up, that I've sown, have all come up as well. And these are mainly for people on the allotment. And sometimes I sell a few tomato seed plants when we do a fundraising event. So overall, I'm very, very pleased with the germination rate. Although this is in a propagator, I haven't heated it. I've just put the lid on and left it. So it's in an unheated propagator, and they've done really well. And as I said before, there is no rush to sow your tomatoes if you don't have the place to pop them on and give them good light. I've got a greenhouse, as I've said before, so leaving your sowing of tomatoes a little bit longer will not do you any harm at all. So I'm really pleased. This is the celery experiment, and the top half I soaked in cold tea, and the bottom half I sowed just from the packet. And you can see the top half of the blush have come up, as have the Victoria, and I think a couple of these Chinese ones are coming up as well. And on the bottom row, the blush are coming up as well. So I don't think that there's a lot of difference between the ones soaked in tea and the ones not. The Victorias are just coming up. I can see one or two seeds just germinating. You can maybe see that now. They are slightly behind the ones soaked in the tea. And the Chinese celery, I can't see anything yet. But what I can see is some mould growing on the paper that I put in as a divider. So I'm going to take that out just in case it contaminates the soil and the plants. But I'm going to give it another few days and see how it grows, because I don't think it's exactly conclusive yet whether soaking the seeds in tea has much of an effect on the germination of the seeds. I'll be pricking out the celery shortly from my trial, and I must say that I don't really see any difference in the celery seeds that were soaked in tea from the ones that were not soaked in tea, in either the amount of seed that's germinated, although to be honest I can't say exactly, it was exactly the same amount of seed in each section, but both sections seem to have germinated well. They all germinated roughly about the same time, maybe a day between them, but not really enough to say that it made much of a difference. The top layer where the labels are were the ones that were soaked in tea, and the ones at the bottom were just sown dry from the packet. What I am really pleased about are the ones, the Chinese pink celery. Some have germinated, so we will get a crop from those, so I'm really pleased about that. All of the Bulgarian tomatoes, Margarita's tomatoes, have germinated. Oh my god. Now I've got to pot a load of these up, prick them out and plot them up. It's going to be a big job. I don't think I'm going to keep all of them. But anyway, I'll pot up as many as I can. If your tomato seedlings get a little bit leggy, don't worry, because these little hairs all up here, you can grow roots up them. So when you prick them out, if they're a little bit leggy, you just gently tease them out, if they'll come. That's it. And pop them and then pop them into your pot, push them all the way down as far as you can get them, just nice and gently, and plant right up to the first leaf seeds. So the first leaf seeds on here, and you can plant them up like that. Give them a good drink, and there you go. And put them in some nice sunlight, but not too direct and too hot, because they're only young, and if they get a lot of direct hot sun, it can damage the leaves. So just keep them indoors for a little bit longer. Days are lovely, the nights are too cold for the plants. And this will grow roots all the way up the stem that I buried. And sometimes you can't plant the tomatoes out straight away, and they get a bit leggy indoors. But again, don't worry, do the same thing. Take them out of the pots and then plant them right up until the first leaves. You can bury the stem, it's not going to be a problem, because actually the more of the stem that you bury, it anchors the tomato plants into the ground and helps to sort of hold them up and make a stronger plant, especially when they've got a high yield on them. So that's fine. That's the mange tout and spring onions planted, and I'm going to cover them up with the fleece there at the end, just until they've settled in. There was frost last night, but these peas were out already, so they're fine. But I will keep them covered until they've settled in and got a bit more robust, give them a bit of protection. But really pleased. So these are the mange tout, and these are the podding peas and some radishes. I've got another tray of peas, so I'll be lifting the spinach, not digging it out, but just lifting the wire mesh cages from the top, and I shall put another row of peas in, and then again I shall keep it covered with this fleece. It's a pretty tough one. It's a 30-gram fleece, which I've discovered is much better than the other fleeces. It's much more robust. The foxes have walked over it and not ripped it up. In the past, I'd put a bit of fleece on and I'd come back the next day and it would be in absolute shreds. So if you are going to buy fleece, think about spending a little bit extra on some 30-gram fleece, and it will be a bit more robust and last a bit longer. The garlic has really picked up and looking lovely now. All the way along there are 3 sorts of garlic here, and for the life of me I can't remember what they are. I have got a note of it somewhere, just off the top of my head I can't remember, but I'm very pleased. They're looking really well, and touch wood, no sign of rust yet. I'm popping in our seed onions and some interplanting of some actually these are little gem lettuces, and I'm just doing it by digging a small hole with the dibber and then dropping them in. It's a lovely day, and I will cover them even though it's a nice day. We've got some cold temperatures coming next week, I think, so I will just cover them with some fleece until they establish themselves. I'm off to the allotment this morning, and I've been away for a week, and I'm going to plant my shallots. But I must say I'm full of intrepidation because I've been away for a week and there's been some hard frosts here, and I don't know quite what I'm going to find because I did plant a load of plants. But anyway, these things are the things that try us. Luckily I covered everything up, so hopefully everything will be fine, but I'll let you know. Well, this is going to be the moment of truth. Have the plants survived? Woohoo! Yep, they're fine, absolutely. And I shall put the frame up now, not today, but later on this week, for the peas, because they're growing and they're great and not a problem at all. And the onions, they're fine too. So I'm very hopeful for the lettuces and the spinach. I shall go and have a little look. The peas are great and the radishes are great, and not only are they good, but I did see 1 or 2 of them right here are not far off from being able to pick. So there you go. Very pleased, very relieved. So fantastic news, everything has survived, and I've put the shallots in now. We've got a couple of cold nights coming, but I'm now confident because it's not going to go into the minus figures. It will be cold, and certainly you shouldn't be putting any tender stuff in, but most of the stuff, well, all of the stuff that I put in was cold hardy and under fleece, so what a relief. It's always a risk and a chance. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, happy gardening. Take care of yourself. Bye.